Hey there, everybody. Tim Burks with your Daily News Dump, number 4 for February 23rd, 2017. Welcome to the first video. I'm totally unsure how I'm going to structure this or do this or how long it's going to be. And imagine there's going to be a lot of editing involved, probably editing out this exact part or at least parts of this part. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just try and run through the articles that I wrote about today in the Daily News Dump. So let's get started. Our first story comes out of Norway, and it was a scientific study where researchers looked at mothers who were infected with the herpes virus early in pregnancy, and they found that these mothers were more likely, twice as likely, in fact, to give birth to children with autism. I don't know if there's anything else to say about that. Like I said, first video, probably going to edit this part out. But yeah. All right. Second story comes out of the United States. A few studies, actually. So these studies combined looked at 178,000 students in voucher programs across the nation from Florida to Indiana. And they basically found that students who took advantage of a voucher program ended up having lower levels of achievement than public school peers who did not take advantage of those programs. The one caveat to this was that students who were in states with strict regulations who went to public, nonprofit charter schools did not show that deficit. Story number 3. Today, President Trump, in an interview with Reuters, said that he plans to expand the U.S. nuclear arsenal and stay at the top of the pack. He cited fears over the North Korean nuclear program as justification for this action. Story number 4, out of North Dakota. As of today, the DAPL protests are officially over. Yesterday there were a series of fires at the camp, and today everyone else has been arrested or removed or evacuated from the camps, and construction is expected to resume soon. Story number 5 is about the NASA announcement, which is super exciting. They found TRAPPIST-1, which is a star relatively close, about 40 light years away, which seems far, but as far as galactic terms, it's not that far. There are 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting this star, 3 of which are in the habitable zone. So this is really exciting in the search for life on other planets or for habitable planets for humans after Earth. This star is suspected or expected to outlast our own sun by 1 trillion years, so that's really promising. Story number 6. This is one that Tesla would love. Nikola Tesla. He would be proud of the Disney researchers who recently made a breakthrough in wireless energy. They used a series of magnetic fields with room design to create wireless energy that could power devices in the room. So that's really cool, but unfortunately the specs aren't quite up to it yet, and there are still safety concerns. So it's not market ready, but it's an exciting proof of concept. Story number 7. A new study published in the Journal of Psychological Science found that the typical belief or the standing belief that corruption is a slippery slope may not actually be the case. When people were given the choice between easing into corruption in an experimental design or going for the big corruption from the beginning, they jumped in at that golden opportunity. So this suggests that corruption may not be the slippery slope we once thought it to be. Story number 8. UK researchers found that people who ate diets high in sugar had an impaired ability to remove abnormal proteins in their brain, and it had put them at an increased risk for Alzheimer's. This is one of several studies that have come out recently about the excessive dangers of sugar. Story number 9. A recent press briefing from the American Psychological Association found that in terms of stress, one of our biggest stressors is people who constantly check their phones. It increased both general and specific forms of stress, and 65% of people agreed that it's good to get unplugged every once in a while only 28% of people reported doing so. Story number 10. A scientific study out of the journal Obesity found that higher levels of cortisol, a commonly known stress hormone, is correlated with a larger waist and a higher body mass index. This is not to say that stress or cortisol causes the higher levels of obesity, or that vice versa. There's no causation, just correlation. So more work needs to be done on that front. Story number 11. This week, the Trump administration trashed or scrapped an Obama directive related to gender expression and bathroom/locker room use. So trans students will no longer be able to use the bathroom or locker room that they identify with as their gender identity. Story number 12. In a show of solidarity with immigrants, the new NYPD commissioner announced that the city officers will not be pursuing deportation orders, that is the immigration services job and not the police services job. Story number 13. A study done in the UK of adolescents found that individuals with higher levels of academic achievement were less likely to use tobacco and more likely to use alcohol and marijuana, especially in ages 13 through 17. Very interesting. Story number 14. New evidence out of the Queen Mary University of London suggests that insect brains may be more complicated than we ever expected. They were able to teach bumblebees to roll a ball of sugar to the center of a target. Learning, while this may not seem like a big deal, learning through experience is a sign of cognition, and hence, insect brains might have more going on than we originally anticipated. Story number 15 comes from the Casa Santa Maria today, where Pope Francis took to Mass this morning to say, "It's better to be an atheist than a greedy Catholic." This is the latest in a series of remarks made by the Pope, admonishing greed and wealth inequality and promoting for the poor, advocating for the poor. Story number 16. Microsoft has invested $26 million into an app/company called AirMap. The software is designed to coordinate airspace and flight plans for drones, and one day hopes to do the same for flying cars when the technology becomes available. 17th and last story, pretty short one here. In Japan, we have the second ever documented case of a chimpanzee with Down syndrome.